SoFi has earnings in less than a week, and this could be huge. SoFi has beaten earnings every single time, and there's a lot to discuss in this video, so strap in, sit tight. But before we dive into SoFi, today is my free masterclass webinar, Friday, October 24th, today at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. You don't want to miss it. Let me show you what you're doing wrong in the market. I have students that have been in my webinars in the past multiple times and said they've learned more in the 1 hour with me than anywhere else. If you want to make the profits you're seeing on the screen, which some of these students were in previous webinars and joined my Discord and it changed their life, I would love to change yours and show you what you're doing wrong. The link to get started is below. We're going to be cutting registrations off later today. There are going to be hundreds, if not thousands of people that can't get in. It happens every webinar, so you have to register very quickly because this afternoon we're going to cut off registrations. Even Vader thinks you should register for the webinar. Look, right? He said, yep. You think we're going to make some money in the stock market today? You think everyone should register? I think Vader says you should register. And Darth Vader behind me says you need to register for the webinar too. So go ahead and click the link below and get registered for tonight because it's going to be a barn burner. Vader didn't like that very much. I said barn burner. Don't worry. We're not going to burn nothing down. It's going to be fine. He looked a little concerned there for a minute. Tell him to register. I think he's done with this. He wants to go to sleep. He looked right at me. Yep. Want to go to sleep? Yeah, he wants to go to sleep. The middle of the day, and he wants to go to sleep. You want to be there. I want to show you guys what you're doing wrong. Huge announcement. I'll be taking your Q&A, and I'll be showing you what you're doing wrong in the market. I look forward to helping you grow your portfolio. SoFi has earnings this Tuesday, October 28th, and they have beaten earnings 7 times in a row. In fact, SoFi has not missed earnings since October of 2023, which was 2 years ago. And before that was in 2021. They have only missed earnings 2 times in over 4 years. This company knows how to crush earnings and expectations by under-promising and over-delivering, which is a sandbagging tactic. Anthony Noto is a very smart CEO. But not only that, he told everyone it's not a matter of if, but a matter of when SoFi becomes one of the biggest banks in the United States, and they're slowly achieving that right now. They have a banking charter. They're an actual bank and in the lending business, and they've been adding to their products and their portfolio and consumer customer growth consistently. Not to mention Galileo and Technisys. The AI backing their platform is pretty darn good. But let's go over some of the facts about SoFi and look at the chart and let's understand what's really going on here, because this could be another opportunity to get in before the next jump up. If this stock does really well on earnings like it's expected to do, it could hit $30, $32, maybe even $35 on earnings or in the following weeks thereafter. Therefore, it'd be a pretty good opportunity to add more if you already have shares. And if you don't, maybe now's a good time to start selling put options that are a little bit in the money or just straight buying the shares. But remember, there's risks with every stock, so you don't want to put any more than 10% of your portfolio into any one sector or any one stock. Let's look at the technicals, fundamentals, financials, and look over SoFi and what I would do and what I'm looking to do on SoFi this earnings and where you could potentially make some money. SoFi reports its third quarter earnings before the market opens on October 28th. Wall Street expects an EPS of 8 cents on revenue close to $887 million, representing roughly 60% and 30% growth from a year ago. The stock has been one of the market's big winners this year, climbing over 80% so far as investors continue to bet on the company's expanding digital finance ecosystem. After a strong first half, investors will be looking to see whether the management sticks to its current outlook of $3.38 billion in adjusted revenue and $960 million in adjusted EBITDA, or raises it up again. Either way, the focus will be on how SoFi balances its rapid expansion with the path forward to sustainable profit and growth. SoFi is also expected to show continued momentum in the member and product growth after surpassing 11.7 million members last quarter, a sign that its cross-selling strategy is working. Investors will be watching whether the trend continues through the third quarter. The average product per member will remain a key measure of engagement, and the stronger that number gets, the more efficiently SoFi can grow by lowering customer acquisition costs and improving lifetime value. Looking at SoFi, we can see this stock has been pretty much consolidating since August. With earnings coming up, it's likely a beat is going to send this stock north into the $32 range, maybe $31 range. So when we go back to the previous earnings, we can see on their recent earnings of July 29th, the stock went up from 21 to 25. Nice $4 jump, and it pulled back completely the very next day. And then it went back up again and worked its way into an upward trend where it pushed $30. And now it's kind of just settling in here at $28. So it was kind of overbought back here to some degree, at least until we get another earnings and we see more growth. But when we look at the previous earnings before that, you guys will see that on this earnings, the stock didn't do very much. It went up from 13 to 14 and back down. And the movements as you go backwards actually don't really get better. They pretty much stay the same or maybe slightly worse. We can see that a lot of the growth on SoFi, especially on earnings, has come with not just beating the expectations, but actually becoming profitable, which is something tangible. When you invest in a company, you need to see the balance sheet, understand it. They need to be profitable. And that has all happened. When you look at this, they were profitable on this previous earnings in October of 24, 1 year ago. And when we look at that, we can see it went up, sold back off, and worked its way up. So this stock doesn't usually explode on earnings. This is not a Tesla play. However, this earnings could be different. And when we look at everything, we can see how strong SoFi has become. The price to sales, which is a metric we gauge on a company that is low in profitability or no profitability, but it gauges their potential to become profitable. It's a very strong metric. We were using that in SoFi for the longest time at a price to sales of 2. And then it ran up to 8, back down to 4, back up to 6. And this fluctuates with their market cap and their revenue. When we look at a 33 billion market cap, and then we go ahead and we divide by the financials, which is the trailing 12-month revenue, which is 4.16 billion. What we're going to do is we're going to open up the calculator and we are going to divide 33 by 4.16 and we get 7.9, which is really strong because a lot of cyclical and financial stocks bounce between 10 and 20. A lot of them are in the mid 15, 16, 17 range, and some are even higher than that. So there's still realistically a 50 to 100% return on the table for SoFi. And that's great because the stock could go up. So there's really a 2x return still sitting potentially, very possibly and potentially on the table for SoFi right now. When you look at Robinhood, you'll see they have a market cap of 119 divided by 359, price to sales of 33 divided by 7.9. Therefore, there is still room for SoFi to grow 4.19 times 28, so $117. And the only reason why Robinhood, not really the only reason, but one of the main reasons, is because they're very powerful brokerage. SoFi was increasing their strength in the brokerage area with everything else they got going on, then this stock's going to fly. If they announce anything that involves brokerage increase, a better platform, or just overall better trading experience, and they are announcing any features or anything that they're adding to being able to trade from within the SoFi app, anything that strengthens their stance on becoming a better brokerage in addition to everything else is going to make this stock absolutely fly. So just look at that number. When we look at other things like the operating income, very positive and good and steady growth. 15, 63, 59, 79, 112, very strong. Net income, again, 332 down to 71, up to 97. So a little bit of a hiccup in quarter 125, much better quarter 2. Now we're looking at quarter 3, EBITDA, 159, 155, 174, 210, a healthy increase in EBITDA. Earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization. We know what interest and depreciation is. We know what taxes are. Amortization is how you spread your debt over time in order to pay it off without affecting your cash flow too much. This way you can become profitable, invest more in the company, and grow. EBITDA, very strong. Looking at the balance sheet, this company is in a very strong position. Their net debt has went up quite a bit over the last few months. It's not a good thing. And when we look at total assets, we can see their assets have increased, and they also have total equity because their assets cover liabilities. Fairly strong balance sheet, although the debt has went up, but the reason for the debt also matters. Looking at cash flow, 106 million in cash from operational activities, and then we have the free cash flow sitting here at 40 million. Previous was 323, 1.6 billion or 1.16 billion. Quarter 4 2024, trailing 12 months is still 154. So if their free cash flow and their cash from operation activities and EBITDA and revenue is up this quarter and their debt goes down and their guidance is better, that will be stellar for SoFi. But not only that, I think they should put some time and effort and grow the brokerage and the investment side of SoFi, because this is where they could even increase their stance to fight Robinhood, and that will increase the value of the company. I don't know if that's going to happen, but it seems like SoFi could potentially be working on that. And if they are, that is also something to really consider in its future value. If that ever gets announced, it'll be too late and the stock will fly. And Anthony Noto is very smart, so that could pop up at any time. Ultimately, what could happen here on earnings is if they beat the expectations and the future guidance, well, then we could quite easily see SoFi come up to the $30 mark. And if it breaks it and can hold, then we might see a little bit of a pullback and then it runs up. We could see it drop on earnings like it's done before, even if they beat the expectations, but then the very next day come right back up and then make its upward pattern. The pattern I expect from SoFi based on history is to come up on earnings, come back down, come up, down, and then start to work their way upwards in an upward trend. And it seems to be SoFi's history. In the coming weeks, it starts to move. But not only is this the history of SoFi, dark pool data shows millions and millions and millions of call options for January of 2026, which means even hedge funds, big institutions, and smart money understand that even though earnings here is at the end of October, it could be middle to end of November before SoFi actually picks up and starts moving, because that's the history of what SoFi's done. So there very well could be a lot of movement between now and the end of December going into January, and it very well could explode on earnings. It's possible. History of SoFi doesn't show that it goes up drastically and stay there. It usually pulls back, but I think this time very well could be different, and SoFi could be generally moving up a lot more than usual, and dark pool data is very consistent with that notion. So remember, there's a lot of risks in the stock market. I wouldn't put more than 10% of your portfolio into SoFi, but if you own this stock already, I might be adding some call options. I'm going to tell you guys right now, I'm thinking that $15 calls expiring January of 2026 would be a very good idea. Dark pool, we're getting into those trades around $1,150 to $1,200. Right now, they're a little over 13. So that's only $100 difference. They look very, very promising. So that's a little trade for you guys, a little tidbit that you could make some decent money. You could. Risk management is key, because SoFi could drop. And if it does on earnings, if it drops, wait for it to settle. No matter how far it drops, wait for it to settle. Once you see consolidation for a few days and it starts to go back up and breaks the previous structure, you would DCA and add more. So if you buy 3 contracts and this happens, you buy 3 more and your average would be right here, and hold for a month and watch what happens. It's very likely that it would go up and you'd be making money up here somewhere. But remember, there's risks with every investment, so you must be cautious. Don't forget, guys, my free masterclass webinars in a few hours today. Very limited spots. We're going to be cutting registrations off very soon. If you want to make the profits you're seeing right here on the screen, just like those students that were in webinars before and registered and joined my Discord, have made tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars. My most recent student from a webinar just over 7 weeks ago was Xander. At 18 years old, started with $12,000, now has $125,000, and he's done this in 7 weeks. Awesome that he was able to achieve this goal, and you could do it too. I have students that have made hundreds of thousands of dollars since joining. I have students that went from $300,000 to $1 million in just under a year, like Josh. If you want to grow your portfolio, let me show you what you're doing wrong tonight. I'm going to unveil what you're doing wrong in the stock market, what you need to do to fix it. I have a huge announcement and a Q&A. I'll be answering your questions and hanging out with you. We always have a good time. Link to register is below. I look forward to seeing you at the webinar tonight and on the next video and in the Discord real soon. One love, fam.